Hello everyone, myself Ritesh. I have 5 years of experience into data engineering and data analytics field. My key skills or key expertise are Power BI for reporting purpose, the database that is SQL, and I have also have expertise into Azure Cloud, which includes ETL, that is Azure Data Factory, ADLS, Logic Apps, and Databricks. I've been working for multiple MNCs since last 5 years. I've worked for retail, I've worked for automobile, and I've also worked for cloud and technological domains.
So, who wants to see themselves as a data analyst, a successful data analyst, or a Power BI lead? So, many of us in the chat, or many of us present in this presentation, who are going through this, wants to become or wants to see themselves as a good data analyst or a Power BI lead. Now, what Power BI lead is? It's a kind of Microsoft BI analyst. So why Microsoft BI analyst? Power BI is a product of Microsoft, and with the introduction of Fabric, everything, all services related to Azure, all services related to Power BI have come into one single stack. Now you're at the right place in this next 20 or 30 minutes. Forgot all your worries,
You
whatever you are
discover
thinking. So you might have many questions. So
one
at the
of the
end of
cause.
this presentation, I would I would answer your queries. You might have many queries, you might have many questions. So at the end of this presentation, there would be a questionnaire. So I would be answering all your queries there. So once again, a very warm welcome to KSR. And now moving ahead, what is the agenda of this session? Now, why data analyst and Power BI stack? Now, why I'm highlighting more Power BI stack is with the introduction of Fabric, Power BI, as well as all other services embedded in Azure have come together in one single data lake or one single umbrella. So I'm highlighting Power BI complete full stack, which includes Microsoft Fabric. What are the current market trends and booming exposure? Skills required to expertise the field of data analyst with Power BI stack. So what exactly Power BI stack is, how to improve, how to become a successful data analyst, and with the introduction of data fabric, with the introduction of Microsoft Fabric, how the change in Power BI domain would be, that all we are going to see in this session. Now let's take a look at this pic. If you compare it with data and reporting, which one of this pick would be easier to understand? So if you compare it with data and report, second pick would be a more interesting, would be more easy to analyze. So it would be easy to, if at all, if you compare it with real-time business, it would be easier for us if the data is more analyzed or more in a sorted manner. So this is how the importance of data analytics is with respect to this picture. You can compare it with any real-time example. Now, in last 5 minutes, you are hearing or you're hearing that data many times. So what exactly data is? Data is one of the most significant asset of many organizations or businesses which are improving their income, which are improving their business reach. Now, businesses worldwide are investing billions in an effort to unlock secret and enormous disruptive potential. So, with this enormous disruptive potential, we as a data analyst, we as a BI developers have to make sure that whatever businesses are generating in terms of revenue has to be in increasing trend, Now we can call data as an art of, or data is a heart of new business model. Data is a heart of new business model. Now, if I move further, let us take a simple example. If this is what we are trying to get, this is what we are trying to get as an analyst, if you're a data analyst, and this is what you are trying to get, if you're trying to share this information with the end user or the business team, they have to go and reach out to every column. They have to check each and every column, what this column derives. They have to check, they have to filter out, they have to sort out. But if the data is present in this manner, it would be very easier for them. It would be more intuitive for them. This is how the data looks like. If I click on any of the chart, it would be more interactive. So similar would be the role of data analyst who has exposure to Power BI. he has to develop these dashboards. He has to kind of develop these kind of interactive dashboards. Now let us take one of the real life example or real time example. So the example here is online music streaming. Now why we took this example? Because we are kind of using online music streaming on daily basis, and nowadays people have upgraded themselves from their internal songs or internal musics to online streaming. Everything is online. Now if you compare any music streaming apps, maybe Spotify, Amazon Prime, Wink Music or Ghana or any other Geo 7, everything is on cloud. Everything is on cloud. And if you check one of the highly used music streaming platforms, Spotify, you might have come across that they also give us some tips and tricks. They have a podcast named as Spotify Tips and Tricks. So what does this podcast give us? What does this podcast give more info about? So they are trying to analyze our data. What are your focus areas? Which types of songs you're listening and from which region you are. So analyzing this data and giving you some tips and tricks to improve your experience, to improve your streaming experience. So they are kind of giving you some suggestions. So how come do they generate these types of suggestions? They're all generated with the help of analytics. They are all generated with the help of data which they are capturing from our systems, which they are capturing from our accounts, whatever you are listening to. They capture that data, they analyze that data. With their analysis, they try to give us some tips and tricks in order to improve our business, in order to improve our music streaming experience, so that they can also improve their business. Now that only not includes data analytics. Prior to analyzing the data, they are going back to each and every user. They are trying to fetch that data. They're trying to extract the user data, and they are trying to store that data somewhere. So with that stored data, they might have created multiple reports. So depending on that reports, they try to give us some tips and tricks. So this is how a business work. You can compare any business or any real time businesses. They are always analyzing their real time data, what a user wants from them, and with that analysis, they are trying to give some improvements. They are trying to improve their service. They are trying to give some tips and tricks. So just like Spotify tips and tricks, it's a kind of every business model. They are focusing on their customers. They're focusing on their improvement in business. Now if I go ahead, what exactly is the role of data analyst or BI expert? Now you can see the complete architecture here. This is the visualization. If I point it out, so for Power BI developer, here is the role of Power BI developer. This is the visualization pane. But in order to visualize the data, so the data might be coming from multiple sources. A user might, if you compare it with Spotify, if you compare it with any music streaming application, let's have an example. The data might be coming from multiple sources. A user might be using Spotify from his iPad or a tab. A user might be using his information, or a user might be logged in from a mobile application, or a user might be have logged in from a website or a browser itself. So there are multiple data, or there are multiple ways of approaching that application, and that all data is collected, that data is extracted. Now for extraction purpose, they have to certainly transform that data. Whatever data is useful for analytics, they have to transform it. They have to filter that data. So once the data is filtered, it goes to some location which is nothing but a data warehouse. So what exactly data warehouse? Data warehouse is a type of DBMS system that is designed to enable and support business intelligence activities. Business intelligence is nothing but reporting or visualization. For every visualization, the data is coming from a data warehouse, which is more in a sorted manner. So at the end, the data analyst has to visualize, has to create multiple dashboards, scorecards, or multiple reports. Depending on that, it is shared to the business. So business can take decisions. Depending on that business, they can suggest few changes. They can give some tips and tricks, which go back to their end users, So growth, for every growth of any industry, for customer reach, for focus areas, their complete focus areas, their improvement areas, what is the revenue generated, for all these purposes, data analysis is most important. Analyzing data is most important. Pretty clear? Now if I move ahead, what is the current market trend and exposure. Now, if you check both the charts, chart one would give you an idea about market volume of data in last 12 years. Now, if you check in 2010, there were around 2 billion US dollars of data present. Now, with the increase in data within this next 15 years till 2025, data is reaching 175 billion dollar US market. Why? Because every day data is increasing on a large scale. With the increase in data, the role of data analyst has become the most trending or the most market hot topic here. For every data rise, it is the data analyst who have to analyze the data, who have to make sure that data is, this is what the data is generated. With the help of that data, he could give us more insights. He could give us some tips and tricks. With that, every business can improve their business, with every business can improve their revenue. So this is huge. I mean, the increase in data is very huge. So for every increase, data analyst plays a vital role. Now, if I move ahead, there are few charts here. What exactly each chart gives you an idea. Let's focus on this chart, the chart towards right. Now, if you see, this chart is generated by Gartner. So what exactly Gartner is? Gartner is one of the most highly, or you could say, one of the key player for data analytics domain, who analyzes the use of data analytics tool, what the exact market share is, and how that data analytics tool is improving the performance of end users, improving the performance of any businesses. Now, if you check here, the data is divided into four different quadrants. One is leaders here, one is challengers, and the other one is niche players, and the last one is visionaries. So if you check here, leaders are nothing but who are the market leaders. So only three of them are a part of this leader quadrant. One is Microsoft, the other one is Salesforce, and the third one is Click. The Microsoft here is Power BI. Microsoft here is Power BI. So Power BI currently is the market leader here. With the increased use of Power BI in every businesses, Microsoft is the market leader. Earlier, Tableau was the market leader. Somewhere Tableau was matching with Microsoft. If you go back and search for 2020 or prior to that, Tableau was the leader. But with the introduction of Microsoft Power BI, Microsoft has taken over the market. They are dominating the market since last 3 years. From 2021, Microsoft is the leader of this complete Gartner quadrant. So this is how the use, or this is how the increase of Power BI has made sure that businesses are improving their processes. Now, if you focus on the chart towards left, this is about cloud domain. This is about cloud market share. Now, Microsoft Azure is the product. Azure is a cloud product of Microsoft. If you compare it with quarter four 2017, the market is increasing. In quarter four of 2022, it is somewhere increased from around 12-13% to around 24% of market share. There are cloud providers also, Amazon, like Amazon Web Services, GCP, the Google Cloud provider, but the market share of all other leaders are stable. If you see for AWS also, it's a kind of stable market. They are somewhere between 34 to 32 only. They are navigating between 34 to 32. But the increase in Microsoft's market, increase in Azure's market is a very high possibility that it might overtake Amazon in some days. So this is how the importance of Microsoft Azure is nowadays. For every Power BI developer, Azure is must. Why? Because only analyzing the data is not important. Apart from analyzing, in order to get that data, we have to use certain ETL tools. We have to focus on certain data transforming techniques, so that all can be performed with the help of Microsoft Azure. There are multiple services present in Microsoft Azure. So with the introduction of Power BI, the market share of Azure also increased, because Microsoft Power BI is a product of Microsoft, and many data sources are compatible with Azure cloud services. And the last chart here is, it's a kind of analysis done by Mordor Intelligence. So what is the market share? What would be the market share of each country or each regions in the world? Now, if you check, High is the color highlighted in dark blue. So moreover, if you check, Asian market is on increasing trend. Asia Pacific and Australia is on increasing trend. So in next 5 to 10 years, India, Asian markets would be leaders in data analytics and cloud provider domains. So everywhere you can see, even North America, which is one of the most profitable market, it's a kind of medium market. They are highlighting it's a kind of medium market. But if you check Asian market, it's the leader. It would be leader in next 5 to 10 years. And if I move ahead, so who can take up this course? Now, people might also have a question that who can take up this course? What all topics would be covered? Now, any person, any graduate, any engineering graduate, irrespective of computer science or information technology, can take up this course. He might be from any core engineering field such as civil, mechanical, or electrical. They are also eligible to take this course. Any commerce graduate or any business related graduate can take up this course. And irrespective of commerce, also, any person who has completed his graduation in arts or maybe any science related aspects, they can also come up and take up this course. Irrespective of any field you are, they can come up, they can take up this course, they can improve their data analytics performance, they can improve their data analytics domain. Now, if I move back, now what all skills we would be learning in this course is we would be starting with SQL. We kind of already started this course. We would be starting with SQL, accepted, but we kind of completed the SQL database. Now we are starting from Monday. We are moving to Power BI. So in Power BI, we are going to cover each and every aspect, which is also related to Microsoft Fabric. Now, what is Microsoft Fabric? Many people might have a question that I would be able to answer. I would give you a brief definition. But moving further, apart from Power BI, we are also going to learn the complete Azure stack. The complete Azure stack. What Azure stack includes? We would be starting with Azure Data Factory. It is an ETL tool. It is a cloud-based ETL tool. So nowadays, everyone are upgrading themselves from their historical ETL tools, a kind of previously used ETL tools such as Informatica or SSIS, or there are many ETL tools used in this market. So that ETL tools are not cloud-based tools. So you have to personally download that ETL tools in your local systems, and you have to run that application. But Azure Data Factory, it's a purely end-to-end cloud-based ETL tool. It purely focuses on cloud aspects. You need not install any application on your system. It would be purely with one click of login on Azure portal, you can directly access Azure Data Factory. You would also going to learn Azure cloud aspects such as ADLS and Key Vault. So what exactly ADLS is? ADLS is nothing but Azure Data Lake Services, and Key Vault. Key Vault is nothing but it's a kind of service where you can share or where you can store all your secrets. So what exactly secret is, how to access that secret, we would be learning in detail in this course. But ADLS, it's a kind of storage system where all files are stored. Data lake storage system where all kinds of files are stored in order to access it further. And at the end, we would also going to have exposure to Databricks, Synapse, and Logic Apps. Now, what exactly Databricks is? Databricks is it's a nothing but a cloud-based big data platform. If the data is in millions or billions, we kind of have to break that data into multiple clusters. For every cluster, it would process that data independently and it would give us the data at the end. So Databricks, it's a kind of service. It's a service developed by an external system which is integrated in the Azure cloud. So what exactly Databricks does is it's a kind of breaks the data into multiple aspects, runs or processes that data, and at the end, it combines all the output together to give us a one final output, to give us a one final product. So once you get exposure to Azure Data Factory, if the data is in more, if the data is present in millions or billions, we can learn Databricks. It is integrated with Azure Data Factory only. Databricks can be easily integrated with Data Factory. We would also going to learn Synapse. So what exactly Synapse is? Synapse is a combination of ADF and Databricks combined together. You can use both the services combined together in one single service, which is nothing but Synapse. And at the end, we are also going to focus on Logic Apps. What Logic Apps is, if you, many of you have gone through Power Automate course or Power Apps course also. So So Logic Apps is similar like Power Automate. Now, what exactly Power Automate is and what exactly Logic App is, it's a kind of orchestration or automation process. If you are trying to complete certain ETL process, if you are trying to complete some data analytics process, at the end you have to send a common email. So for every person, you have to write an email, or you have to, for every data analytics change, for every data analytics report, at the end you have to write an email and you have to send that. But with the help of Logic Apps, it would help us to automate the process of sending emails. It's a kind of automation or orchestration process. So somewhat, or around 90 to 95%, it is similar like Power Automate. But Power Automate is a part of Microsoft 365 domain, whereas Logic Apps is a part of Azure Cloud. It's a separate service present in the Azure Cloud. So we kind of going to cover all these topics in this complete course. And you people also might have a question that why KSR? If you go and compare it with any coaching institute or any training institute, for every course they might have developed a different scenario. For Power BI they have a different course, for ADF they have a different course, for complete cloud architecture they have a different course, and for Databricks also they have a different course, for Synapse also they have a different course. So we kind of integrated all these services in one single course, and we kind of giving you a complete end to end training with Power BI itself. Power BI is the core here, where Power BI is a core. For every data analytics, reporting tool is the core. So we kind of going to cover Power BI in detail for 6 to 7 weeks. And at the end of Power BI, we would be starting with Azure Data Factory, Azure Cloud Services, which includes Databricks, Synapse, and Logic Apps. So Power BI would be 6 to 7 weeks. And for Azure services, it would be around 6 weeks. So 1.5 month here and around 1.5 month for Power BI. We kind of started SQL already. It is completed for almost a month. We have gone through all the SQL concepts. So one who wants to join this course, if you want to have exposure to SQL also, you would get the SQL videos also, depending on what course you are trying to select. So it would be, you guys can connect with the Mahesh or any team member from us who would be guiding you what exactly the pricing of this course would be. And now at the end, I have said you that what exactly Microsoft Fabric is. So Microsoft Fabric is a combination of all these services clubbed together. It's a combination of all these services clubbed together. It includes Data Factory, it includes data engineering, it includes ADLS, that is nothing but data warehouse. It includes data science as well. It includes real-time analytics. And the core component of Fabric is Microsoft Power BI. So with Power BI service only, they have moved out to Microsoft Fabric. So for every data analyst, it would be very easy to work on all these tools combined together in one single data lake. In one single data lake. It also includes some data connectors and Microsoft Purview. So what exactly this Purview is, we would be learning in detail. It's a kind of governance portal where you can give certain restrictions to the data which you are using. But Microsoft Fabric is nothing but a combination of all these services clubbed together in one single umbrella. You can use all these services with one click of login, and you don't have to go back and independently create a data factory separately, independently create data engineering or data engineering aspects separately, or real-time analytic aspects separately. So for every service, they have integrated in one single umbrella, which is nothing but Microsoft Fabric. But prior moving to Microsoft Fabric, if you guys have checked, Fabric is in preview mode. It isn't released completely. It's a kind of beta version. So for every preview mode, it might take few months or few years also to completely release all these products in a full manner or a full-fledged manner. In order to learn every course or every service present in the Microsoft Fabric, you have to learn that course independently. If you're trying to access Data Factory from Fabric, the UI might become a kind of bit complicated. So in order to learn Data Factory, you have to go through Azure Data Factory separately. Once you get exposure to this service, it would be very easy for us to go back and integrate in the Microsoft Fabric. So prior learning any of the services present in Fabric, we have to learn that services independently in the Azure portal or Azure cloud, which we are going to cover. So once you cover all these topics independently, at the end, we would also give you an exposure. How does a fabric look like? Nowadays, the powerbi.com itself is a fabric. So every report you share on powerbi.com, they are all part of fabric only, but everything is in preview mode except Power BI. It might take few days to get the all the services available in full-fledged manner. So we are going to cover every service separately, and at the end, I would also show you how to integrate or how to use the services in Microsoft Fabric. Now we kind of going to end this session with few snaps which I have taken from. If you go back and search jobs in Power BI and data engineering or any Power BI course, wherever you go, if you check this job, apart from Power BI, they are expecting certain additional aspects also for every data analyst, including Power BI. They're expecting you should have exposure to cloud, any cloud. And why we are only covering Azure is because Azure is a product of Microsoft. It would be easily combined or it would be easily integrated with Power BI. There are many connectors or there are many data connectors, or you could say wherever the data, I mean, if you are using any services in Azure, each of these services can be clubbed with it can be easily clubbed with Power BI. Whereas if you compare any reporting tool, maybe Tableau or maybe ClickView, it would be very difficult. You have to make sure that data is converted into their format and then you have to load that data. Whereas if you compare Power BI with any Azure cloud services, it would be very easy to integrate. There are almost 99 to 100 connectors available for Azure itself from Power BI. Now, if you go back and check, there are many jobs available for Power BI and Azure. If you try to relate it, it's a data engineer Power BI. It is purely for data analytics, not a data engineer. But if you go here and search for every Power BI, they are expecting you should have exposure to artificial intelligence. You should have exposure to kind of data engineering aspects. So data engineering, that doesn't mean you should have end-to-end exposure. You can have exposure to some ETL concepts. You can have exposure to certain services present in Azure, which breaks down the data, which is nothing but Databricks, which breaks down the large amount of data into multiple small chunks. So a kind of services which are primarily used by data analyst to get that data, to load it somewhere and then use that for analytical purpose. So for a Power BI developer, it is must that he should have exposure to cloud. He should also have exposure to certain services present in the cloud, which also includes ETL or ELT processes. Now, if you check the opening here, lead Power BI developer, it is for EPAM system. It's a kind of product-based organization. Now, if you check, they have requested, it's purely for Power BI engineer or Power BI data analyst, but they are also expecting you should have exposure to extensive exposure in Power BI. This is the core skill, but apart from this, they are also expecting you should have exposure to data factory, ETL purpose. You should have exposure to some cloud services. So if you go back and check, uh, here AWS data lake, so these are all services present in the cloud. If you compare it with Azure also, we have ADLS here. So for every opening, for every Power BI opening, if you go back and check, you should have exposure to cloud aspects as well. So this is how the importance of Azure came into picture. And for every Power BI developer nowadays, he's going back and learning Azure aspects as well. So this is how the market trend is. And at the end, I'll take a small example. If I go back, and this is their Microsoft's domain. So how Power BI is improving businesses. So if you go and explore this website also, many industries, it might be from energy, it might be from financial services, it might be from government and education, it might be health, it might be manufacturing or resources. Nowadays, many people are migrating from their a kind of historical reporting services to Power BI because It is easy to learn, it is easy to adapt, it can be easily combined with Azure cloud, because it has almost around 99 to 100 separate or especially Azure related connectors. So you can connect all the Azure services to Power BI, and you can easily integrate or develop multiple reports and dashboards. Now with this, I would end up this demo or a kind of presentation. Yep. Thank you.